She once believed love was supposed to feel safe. She once believed that home was a place where your heart could rest. But slowly, without warning, love became something else. Something heavy. Something silent. Something that made her forget who she was. In the beginning it was beautiful. He smiled at her like she mattered. He listened to her dreams. He promised protection. He promised forever. And she trusted him because she wanted to believe that someone had finally chosen her. The first crack came quietly. A raised voice. A sharp look. A comment that stayed in her mind longer than it should have. She told herself it was normal. She told herself everyone argues. She told herself love requires patience. But patience slowly turned into fear. Fear of saying the wrong thing. Fear of being too loud. Fear of being too quiet. Fear of being herself. She lived in America, a land where people talk about freedom and rights. Yet inside her own home she learned how to walk softly. How to listen for footsteps. How to read moods the way others read weather. Her world became small. Her phone calls were monitored. Her friendships faded. Her laughter disappeared. And she did not even notice when her reflection stopped looking back at her. Some nights she cried silently into a pillow. Some nights she stared at the ceiling counting breaths. Some nights she prayed for morning to come faster. And some nights she wondered if anyone would notice if she was gone. He told her she was weak. He told her no one else would want her. He told her she should be grateful. And words like that, when repeated enough times, start to feel like truth. She stayed. Not because she wanted to, but because she was scared. Scared of being alone. Scared of starting over. Scared of having nothing. She had no money. No plan. No place to go. And fear convinced her that surviving abuse was easier than facing the unknown. But inside her something was still alive. A small voice she almost forgot. A voice that whispered, "You are still here." One night after another argument he left the house. The door slammed so hard the walls shook. She stood frozen for a moment. Then slowly she slid down onto the kitchen floor. She waited for tears. But none came. She waited for panic. But instead there was silence. In that silence she realized something terrifying. If she stayed, this life would be all she ever knew. And she would disappear quietly without anyone ever knowing who she truly was. That realization was heavier than fear. Heavier than pain. Heavier than loneliness. She stood up. Her hands shaking. Her heart racing. And she made a decision that would change everything. She did not pack bags. She did not take memories. She did not leave a note. She took only her phone. Her keys. And the courage she never knew she had. She waited until the house felt empty. Until the silence felt deep enough. Every step toward the door felt like betrayal. Every sound felt dangerous. When she opened the door, cold air touched her face. The night was dark. The street was quiet. And for the first time in years she felt something unfamiliar. Freedom. She walked without knowing where she was going. Each step felt unreal. Her body was shaking. Her mind was screaming to go back. But her soul kept moving forward. That first night she slept on a stranger's couch. The second night at a shelter. The lights were bright. The beds were hard. And the stories around her were heavy. She learned that she was not alone. That pain has many faces. And courage often looks like exhaustion. She filled out forms. She waited in lines. She told her story again and again. Each time her voice cracked. Each time it became a little stronger. There were moments she almost returned. Moments when comfort called louder than hope. Moments when fear whispered, "At least you know what to expect." But she remembered the kitchen floor. She remembered the silence. And she chose herself again. She found a job. It was small. It was tiring. But it was hers. She learned how to earn. How to save. How to stand on her own feet. She learned that independence is not loud. It grows quietly. Through long shifts. Through lonely nights. Through choosing strength even when no one is watching. Months turned into years. The nightmares faded. The fear loosened its grip. And slowly she began to recognize herself again. She moved into a tiny apartment. The walls were bare. The space was small. But every corner belonged to her. No one shouted. No one controlled. No one made her feel small. Silence was no longer frightening. It was peaceful. One morning she stood in front of the mirror. The same mirror she once avoided. And she looked into her own eyes. She saw scars. She saw strength. She saw a woman who survived what was meant to break her. She smiled. Not because life was perfect, but because she was free. Her story is not unique. Yet it is powerful. Because courage does not always roar. Sometimes courage whispers and says try again tomorrow. If you are listening to this and feel trapped, if fear has convinced you that you cannot leave, remember this. You are stronger than the voice that tells you to stay. You are braver than the fear that keeps you silent. And freedom often begins with one step taken while your hands are still shaking. She walked out with nothing and built a life filled with peace, with dignity, with hope. And so can you.